but they're in a different spot, right? You have to be able to adapt. Your seat has to be loose enough and strong enough to adapt with your horse. And that's one of the things that we really teach in our clients only program, is how to stay safe on your horse, and how to move in a good symbiotic way with them, right? Not through force, through relaxation, through balance. And so much of the time, your fear will go away. And you'll think, well, why does my fear go away? That's because innately you know that you're in better balance with your horse. And it's a really long, it's not a long process, but it's a really in-depth process for us to explain here tonight. But I just want you people to understand that when you trail ride, it is important for your partner and for yourself. And so much of the time, if you get off your horse after a 3 or 4 hour ride and your back is sore, your knees hurt, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to. Most of the time, it's through compensating holding patterns in your body. Last night, Cindy was talking about her migraines that she used to have in lessons. And I'll let her share a little bit about that with you. But, through proper riding, you can probably elongate the amount of time that you can ride in your lifetime, as well as your horse's lifetime, right? But if you're slamming down on the horse's back and really not moving with the horse, you're gonna give them arthritis, premature arthritis in their back, in their hocks, in their fetlocks, all that stuff. And we owe it to our horse to look at ourselves and see what are we doing. In show barns, a lot of times you'll see a common injury, like either right hind, left front, whatever. You'll see common injuries kind of start rolling through barns. And some people don't have the ability to look at themselves and go, geez, hey, why do all my horses have a right hind problem, right? Whether it be a hock, fetlock. Is it that I'm blocking on that side of my body and allowing them to not move through? Now, there are some injuries, as we know, that aren't caused by this type of stuff, right? I mean, they can have a freak accident, they can be overtrained, they can be out of shape going on a trail ride. I mean, yes, those all do play a role. But I ask everybody to check themselves first, to really check yourself. And if you're, brushing your horse and you find he's flinching in the lower back, ask yourself, well, what does my lower back look like? How loose am I, right? If you're kicking on your horse to make them go and they're not going, how loose am I, right? If your horse all of a sudden develops a problem going downhill or uphill, what am I doing in those situations in my body to inhibit them? Because we know they can do it on their own, right? Cindy, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you're kind of on a roll, so I'm going to let you keep going.
And so I, several years ago, noticed some flaws in my sport and the way I thought things were taught in every aspect of horseback riding. So I looked for a different way. And, everything I had seen was hold on, grip, just tighten, stay through your body, and I thought, well, how in the world can we expect our horses to be loose if we're not, right? And I'm not a pro at it. Every single day I am working on myself, every day. In our conversation yesterday, I was telling Cindy that I was trail riding a horse earlier in the week, and I was like, why? I'm like, this guy is like usually a really calm, cool, collected dude. Like, why is he wanting to jig on me, right? And then I thought, oh my gosh, my lower back is closed. And when I'm doing that, when my lower back is tight, it's making my legs tight like toothpicks. right? And when that's happening, I'm inadvertently applying pressure. And he's a well-trained guy. So when I'm doing that, he's reacting, right? He's saying, oh, I'm supposed to go, right? You know, I'm supposed to tighten up and move with her. The moment I did my breathing, thought about my seat, thought about the technique that I know, it stopped. We went back to being, you know, on a loose rein. And I also encourage people, if you are thinking about bidding up because your horse is, you know, running through the current bit that it has, ask yourself, are you asking them to move? Right? Are you asking them to move inadvertently? Is there any tension in your body anywhere? Right? Because if there is, you are actually asking them to move. And know that if you keep bidding up, right? I know this can be a hot topic for a lot of people. Eventually the horse will get used to that bit and then you'll need a bigger one. Right? And whereas if you gotta find the root of the problem, right? And the root of the problem most of the time is not the bit. That's why you see these people being able to ride bridleless, right? And do all this stuff. It should be 80% seat for your aids for all of it, going and stopping, 15% legs and 5% hands. If my seat is moving, right, sitting on the horse and moving, I weigh 145 pounds. My 145 pounds of pressure, shifting left, shifting right, getting tense, getting relaxed, is a way bigger aid than my legs or my hands will ever be, right? So it doesn't matter, you know, how hard I'm pulling. I mean, could you imagine if you had to put 145 pounds of pressure in your hands to stop your horse because your seat's driving them forward? I mean, that's why we have a bit in that really sensitive part of their mouth, right? Because we can't even equivalate it. It would just be, you know, just tiresome, right? How many of us are exhausted when we're done riding, right? Oh my God, my horse, it just takes so much to get him going, or he's just blowing through my aids, asking me to stop. I can't get him to stop, right? You know, think about those horses that are always, you know, trying to run to get back home. You know, ask yourself, when you turn around to go home on the trail ride, do you change? Right? Do you go, oh yeah, we're going back to the trail, let's go back to the trail? Does your mind make a switch? Right? I guarantee you in some way it does. I guarantee you there's one part of your brain that goes, oh, we're going home. And they feel that. Right? And so when you're teaching a horse to be relaxed and going back to the trailer, if you're asking them to walk, are you present and are you being a good example of what relaxation is? And like I said before, it's really too in-depth for me to explain exactly what all of that is. We have in our client section, we have all these units that we describe: breathing, belly button movements, relaxation, but just know it works. I had a client bring a 4-year-old reiner in today, and we had never taught her this stuff before. And every time she would trot, it would just be really fast previous to this. By the end of the session, we got a really nice, relaxed trot. And it can be the same thing for your trail horse. And what is she looking for? She's a reiner, but she was also taking her out to go work cows, right? Essentially a form of trail riding with a job. And so what does she want when she's out there? She wants a relaxed trot that she can ride for hours, right? I mean, don't we all want that? And so, you know, for me, it's a safety issue as well, right? When you're on the trail, you come across everything. I mean, I remember years ago, I was out on a trail ride and I had a guy on an ATV come behind me with a Confederate flag strapped to the top. And if I hadn't had a loose seat to stay with my horse when she spun around to look at it, God bless her, that's all she did. I would have been right where she left me. Because you have to be able to absorb the motion and let the motion pass through you and go with it. You have to be able to use gravity. There is no amount of holding on that's really going to help you. We're built like a clothespin. It's an analogy I use in all my lessons. And if a clothespin is put on something rounder than it, I use the example of an apple. The horse is rounder than us, right? And the clothespin is pushing on it. Well, is the clothespin going to go down and stay on the apple, or is the clothespin going to pop off? It's going to pop off. So what does squeezing do? It pops us off. It actually takes us away from the horse. So if you're already doing this on a general basis when you're riding, if you're already squeezing, you're already not as deep in the saddle as you could be. And so if that horse moves, you're that much closer to being off. And the same thing goes with holding onto the horn, right? If you have a Western saddle and you hold onto the horn, you're actually pulling yourself out of the saddle. It might feel good to you, feel like, you know, it's some security, but it's actually lifting your rear end out. And, you know, they can help in other things, but that's one of the reasons for us, even if somebody wants to come here and ride Western, I make them start English, because I don't want them to get in the habit of holding on to that, because I don't want them to be pulling themselves out. I want them to find their balance. So just know that you trail riders are awesome riders. I mean, your horses have to be able to handle so much, and you guys have to be able to handle so much. And so you want to be adaptable for your horse, right? So that you can help them through situations, because you encounter way more than us arena people do. And that's why I have about, I'd say actually almost 60% trail riders, because even our arena horses, we make trail horses. And most of my women, that's what they want to do. They come here, they ride some in the arena, and they just want to get better with their equitation, and then they want to go outside, right? So I actually tell them they have to be better than we have to be just in the straight arena. And that's because more is going to come at you. So you have to be better at handling your nerves, right? You have to be better at adjusting your seat to what's coming down the road. You have to be better at helping your horse through a new situation, right? You just have to be better. And it will serve you so well for the rest of your life if you really focus on, how do I be the best horse person I can be for my horse? And that's just not training wise, that's health wise, right? Am I even as I can be? Am I a loose person? Am I a person that chronically sits, you know, to the one side, right? Well, my horse is going to experience that heavier weight for a long time, and then they're going to have the same compensation. So we are all striving to be better for our horses, and I know that most of us really, really are. But we really have to have the ability to look at ourselves thoroughly, and that's a hard thing to do, because sometimes we find ourselves and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know. I used to have a gentleman that rode here, and when we have mirrors on the other end of our arena. Some of you guys don't know that. I loved teaching him. He was just so much fun. And he said, you know, Kristen, when I'm riding down at this other end of the arena that doesn't have the mirrors, I think I'm the Marlboro Man. That's what I envision myself to be like. He says, and then I go down in front of the mirrors and my dreams are shattered. It wasn't that bad. But, you know, for him, right, don't believe what you think is happening. Because our body tricks us into our natural compensations. it tricks us into thinking that leaning is straight. It tricks us into thinking that bouncing in the saddle is normal, because it adjusts to what we always do. And we also teach to find which leg you're standing on when you're standing in the ground. And you would be surprised through some of the exercises that I put people through. They go, well, I thought I was standing on both feet. I'm like, well, you're not. And that translates to the saddle as well. And that's just because our mind has trained us to think that crooked is straight. And that's where eyes on the ground come in. Having eyes on the ground, having somebody you know and trust to help you work through that. So, does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna see if there's anything here.
So while Kristen's checking to see if we have any questions, there's a few things I'd like to add. You know, she was talking about how you're sitting in the saddle and whether or not you're holding onto the horn, and are you gripping with your legs like a clothespin. I find a lot of my students are not only bracing in the soles of their feet, but they're gripping with their calves. And so they're going down the trail and their horse keeps picking up speed and they're pulling them back. But what they don't realize is that they're actually using their lower body to balance themselves, or they have a horse that keeps wanting to stop. They're using the reins to balance themselves with. So when you're going down the trail, you know, the program that we teach is body awareness, not only body awareness of your horse, but of yourself as well, because the horse is going to mirror for you a great deal of the time where you're holding the tension in your body. So learning to check in with your body and knowing where you're holding the tension, and then learning to breathe deep and into that tension to release it is really important. My primary thing that I have had horses since I was 11 years old, and my joy is out on the trail. And moving up to the high Sierras in 1999, I grew up in the foothills of California, riding the foothills, but moving up to the high Sierras, you know, it was a whole new level of riding. I was used to rattlesnakes and mountain lions, and now here there and cows, and now here there's bears and deer, and you know, a whole new array of obstacles. There's mountain bikers. Some trails have motorcycle, dirt bikes out there. The other day, one of my clients were out riding and they came across somebody camping with a bunch of llamas, and all their horses just went berserk. And she and I had been working a lot on her being balanced, soft in her lower back, not bracing with her legs, having a good contact on her reins. And because of all of that, she was able to manage that horse through what it was doing. The other thing that her horse had learned to do, because she was not aware of what she was doing with her body, was she was balancing with her lower legs and pressure in the soles of her feet, which is that clothespin Kristen's talking about. So she was not, if that horse zigged, she was most likely going to zag, and she didn't know why. But because of the way she was balancing on that horse, she was constantly squeezing him forward. Yeah. So then he was wanting to go faster and faster, and not knowing what was happening, she was then pulling back on him all the time. Now, this woman is I have the utmost respect for her. I love teaching her. She has done some tremendous high country trail riding. But what she had inadvertently taught her horse to do was grab a hold of that bit so he would stop feeling the pressure on the bars of his mouth, so that they could harmoniously go down the trail. Mm-hmm. But she felt like she had a horse that was ready to explode underneath her. And I didn't really notice it watching her. I knew where she was bracing, but I didn't know what he was doing until I got on him and started working him in the arena and asking him to go up into a trot. And as soon as I asked that horse to go into a trot, he positioned his head, grabbed a hold of that bit. It was all I could do to get him to respond to me. So it goes back to being so aware of how are you riding? How are you sitting on your horse? How are you balancing on your horse? What are you saying with your hands? We strive for that synergistic partnership, and it has to begin with us, you guys. We cannot ask our horses to join up and be our partners if we're not willing to expand our education and learn how to ride them the way that they deserve to be ridden. Trail riding, you know, I ride with a lot of different people, and to be honest with you, I'm very, very selective in who I will actually go out on the trail with. I'll take my clients out for trail riding lessons, but when I'm out to enjoy myself, I'm pretty particular on who I'm going to ride with.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, because a lot of people are actually a train wreck waiting to happen. There is trail etiquette. And when you don't understand it, you actually kind of make it unsafe for everybody. You know, I'm gonna touch a little bit on preparing your horses for the trail. Okay, there's the riding component, which is hugely important. But there's also the partnership with your horse. You come to something in the trail, a fallen tree, water crossing, narrow trails that you have to navigate through, cliffs and narrow trails. You and your horse have to have the utmost trust, communication, and balance. And sometimes you got to get off. Sometimes your horse is not mentally or emotionally prepared to do what you're asking them to do. And getting off and being able to ask them from the ground is important. That's why doing groundwork in the arena and getting that solid relationship on the ground as well as in the saddle is really, really important. There's a lot of horses that don't do water crossings. And you can try a bunch of different things, but often what it takes is to get off, send them into the water and bring them back. Send them in, bring them back. That's all on the ground skills that you practice in the arena so that when you come to those things on the trail, you can do it. My horse needs to know how to walk right behind me, because if for any reason I have to get off and walk a narrow trail, he needs to know to politely fall behind me, stay behind me, and not run over the top of me. So I like Kristen. When I hear people say, I just do trail riding, I'm just like, oh my goodness. You have no idea. You are doing one of the most extreme sports you can do with a horse. I ride with people, or I watch people on the trail who totally relax. They're not holding on to the reins. There's no contact. Everything's a joyride until that bear jumps out, or that llama jumps out, or the horse behind you spooks, or your horse falls. It's great. It feels really good to be able to drop your reins, but you are abandoning your part of the relationship. You are that horse's leader. And I can guarantee you that when you drop those reins, you have dropped your balance. You are riding on top of your horse, like Kristen says, like a block of ice or a sack of sand. And you are not riding with that horse. And you're going to get a sway back. You're going to get saddle sores. You're going to get sore hocks, sore knees. So there is a lot that we ask of our horses. I mean, for crying out loud, we asked the prey animal to let a predator sit on their back where a mountain lion's going to eat them. That in itself is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We ask, if we're asking them to show up and be a partner that's trustworthy, we owe it to them to do the same thing, you guys. I loved the other day, Kristen and I were having this conversations with our members only group. And I loved when she said that learning how to be balanced and ride with your horse and not on your horse is actually extending the health and longevity of your horse.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty powerful statement, you guys. I mean, that one I really took to heart. You know, I have a little mare that I rescued from the kill pens last year about this time, and she's got a pretty big sway back. And the more that I've studied with Kristen and understand the biomechanics of the horse and rider, the more that I understand a sway back does not have to happen.
No, it doesn't.
It's not the horse.
Mm-mm.
It's the rider that doesn't know how to ride.
Yeah, we just retired a horse couple years ago, and he had a perfectly straight back until 33 years of age. And then when we stopped riding him and he lost his core muscles, then it started to fall, right? But 33, and I guarantee you, most people would go through our barn. We just had a horse in the vet hospital last week, and they could not believe by looking at this animal that he was 26. I mean, his back is just straight, and he's huge. He's got to be 17 something. He is a big boy. And so if anything's going to be subject to gravity, it'd be him. And I mean, he just as sound as all get out for a 26-year-old horse. It's unbelievable. And that's what we're all striving for, right? Riding our horses into their 20s. I mean, how long does it take you to get a good horse? For us, it's like 10 years, right? And then if you're not riding them correctly, if you're not using the correct tack, you only get a couple years. That's no fun, right? And then you got to start over again. And not only is it not fun, it's you love your animal, right? So you want to ride them as correctly as you can to help them for the rest of their life, and that your partnership can last longer. And that's what we really, really, really focus on in our program is how do you ride your horse? How do you train your horse from the ground? How do you do all this stuff that really teaches your horse to be sound for long periods of time? And that's why we take the whole horse approach. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
The thing Kristen shared yesterday in our talk, which was again profound, and it goes back to my migraines, is by learning how to be balanced and ride in synergy with your horse, you're also preserving your body. Mm-hmm. That you can be one of those 75-year-old people who's still riding your horse. Mm-hmm. Because you weren't jarring your spine and your hips and your knees and your neck. Mm-hmm. Your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, to where you break down. Like I've said, I've been riding since I was 11. I started my horsemanship journey in 2000, where I was committed and devoted to being the best that I could be for my horses. Mm-hmm. And studied with a trainer for several years and started doing upper level arena work with my Yellow Mino RC that many of you have seen, and could not go an hour and a half lesson without being in bed for the next 2 days with the migraine. And I could just feel all the tension in my necks and my shoulders. And when I finally sought out to find a better way, I contacted Kristen because I had been watching her on Facebook. We've been friends for a long time on Facebook. I met her at a couple clinics I assisted in. And I really liked her whole feel. I liked the way she interacted with horses. So I contacted her. I thought she was only English and dressage. Contacted her and said, will you take a Western rider? She's like, absolutely. So we went there, and I had my list of, you know, I can't get through a lesson without a migraine, and I can't get him to this, and I can't get him to that, and he won't do this, and I can't get him to stop doing that. I had my whole list of, you know, what was wrong with RC. And she listened very politely. And when I was done, she said, you know, we're going to address all of that, Cindy, but could we just make a deal right now that for the next 6 lessons, we focus on getting rid of your migraines? And I was like, huh, yeah, that'd be cool, you know? And within 2 lessons, you guys, by Kristen pointing out to me where I was holding my tension and what I was doing to ride on top of my horse instead of ride with my horse, within 2 lessons, my migraines were gone. So after that point, I was like, all right, I need to know more about what's going on here. And that piece that Kristen brings to the table about the biomechanics and how to ride in rhythm with your horse and how to find the tension in your body so that you can help your horse release that tension in their body. That was the missing piece to my program. And
I feel like it'll be that way for so many of you guys.
I agree. I agree. You know, Kristen and I are so passionate about this topic of I'm just a trail rider.
Mm-hmm.
We have decided we're going to create a 2-day clinic, maybe 1 day, but I think we have enough for a 2-day clinic. And we want to do it sooner than later to help you guys get ready for trail riding.
Yep.
And, you know, I think it is most likely going to blow those who participate out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have them wanting to know more. They're going to see their horses. I was teaching my client today, again, the one whose horse was grabbing the bit, and she didn't know. She didn't know what she was doing, so she didn't know how to fix it. And every time I teach her, I'm watching her evolve more. And what's so beautiful is I will watch her start riding her horse, get in rhythm with her horse. The horse will go into a trot, and immediately she starts bouncing out of the saddle and she gets all tight. And as soon as I can ask her to relax, find the rhythm again, and then ask her horse with her 80% body to go up to a trot, what happens is you will see that horse walking, and when she starts hitting it right, that horse stretches out farther and speeds up his walk. And if she can stay relaxed with him, they go into this beautiful jog. And
a lot of the time too, you'll see the horses, like she said, stretch out, but that also means lower their neck. So a lot of times a really high-headed horse, their back is dropped, they're arching, they're in tension mode.
Yes. Yes. So it's beautiful. And we're super excited to bring this 2-day clinic. We may even call it I'm Only a Trail Rider Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a huge understatement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm thinking that it's most likely going to become one of our most popular clinics and one of our signature clinics, because it is going to be unlike any clinic you have ever attended, any lesson you have ever attended, unless you have attended a lesson with Kristen and I.
Yep.
So that's coming down the pipe, you guys. You know, we teach this stuff to our members. We have our online membership program. Our members are starting to learn more and more about all of this. We do virtual lessons with our clients. So we have some in different states. We're able to get on and do virtual lessons and help them, which is very cool. Does anybody have any questions about what we're talking about? We would really love to hear it. think I covered everything that was really powerful to me. You know, the only other thing I want to add to this, you guys, is preparation for trail riding. Learning how to be a balanced rider is going to save not only your horse's structure and his ability to carry you down that trail for many years, but it could quite honestly save your life out on the trail.
Yes, it could.
And that's what we would like to have, is everybody riding happy, happy trails.
Yes, and safe.
Yes.
And happy horses. So,
you know, there's also a whole trail etiquette that so many people I ride with don't understand, you know, and a lot of that can make or break a trail ride. So that'll be another thing that we address in our members only program, as well as our trail riding clinic that we're about to put out there. Anything else, Kristen?
I don't think so. Thank you guys for joining us.
We enjoy this. We do this every Thursday night at 6:15. We try to bring a different topic to the table. For those of you that have joined us and watched us, if there's a topic that you would like to know more about, please send us a message. Please comment on our page. We would be more than happy to make that a Thursday night topic.
Yes.
Check out our YouTube channel.
You guys can also find our for those of you that aren't watching us on our you know, our private page, join our private group page, and feel free to message us too about our clients only. And we also have a synergistic YouTube channel too, that this will be recorded and uploaded to.
And be sure to subscribe, you guys, to our YouTube channel. It helps us be able to give you more content.
Yay!
Yay, until next Thursday, you guys, please stay safe. Please enjoy your horses as the weather's getting nicer and you're getting out there to be with your horses more. Be safe. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, guys.
Love to answer them.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.